Senator Joe Manchin, you love him. You love him. Was out this weekend. He was brought on whatever Jake Tapper's little dog and pony show is on. Was it CNN? CNN. Is Jake Tapper I think Jake Tapper may actually be the last employee at CNN.
Oh, we're going to talk about CNN in a bit here coming up.
CNN is a total crap show.
So this is their Sunday show called State of the Union.
State of the Union. I love how they give these official names like State of the Union. You know, like we turn to CNN to get the State of the Union. Anyway, Jake Tapper
with Jake Tapper
interviewing Joe Manchin and Lisa Murkowski. I love that they do these like little. What's the best way to describe these things? They've been doing on State of the Union where they have a Republican and Democrat. They bring them together to try to have a civil conversation. That's what they've been doing on that show. And they've been promoting it like we are a civil place. We're bringing these people together. So Lisa Murkowski, the Alaskan Republican senator, was on there. Joe Manchin, the Democrat from West Virginia, was on there talking about the stimulus and infrastructure and Build Back Better. And Joe Manchin was asked whether or not this thing is dead, and he didn't mince words. Here is Joe Manchin speaking specifically about Build Back Better and whether or not we're going to see this continue anytime soon.
A question before we take a break, which is Build Back Better. Is it dead? Is there any opportunity for it to come back with your support?
The Build Back Better, as it has been presented over the last 7, 8, 9 months, that bill no longer will exist, okay? Should there be parts of it? You want to talk about different things? I think the president said there might be certain parts and this and that. My biggest concern and my biggest opposition, it did not go through the process. Whether Lisa votes for it or not being a Republican, she should have at least the opportunity to have input. It should have gone through the committee. These are major changes. It's going to change society as we know it.
Yeah.
So those changes should be.
Well,
Total
she's
garbage.
nodding. She wanted to.
Total garbage. Total garbage. Total hypocrisy. Again, this is garbage because.
Well, which part of it is garbage? Because he did stop the bill to go through the Congressional Budget Office.
Okay.
Saying after that was the process that he wanted.
So his biggest concern, he said, my biggest concern is not the top line number, right? The cost. It was that it didn't go through the process where we all have the opportunity to vote on it. He was totally fine ignoring the process when it went to the infrastructure bill. So the infrastructure bill passed with no process. He was fine with that because, of course, it's money being handed out to all of his natural gas and oil cronies or coal cronies in West Virginia. Mm-hmm. So this is such a load of garbage and hypocrisy from these senators. And she's sitting there shaking her head, of course, so that her oil companies and all of those people up in Alaska get big handouts in the infrastructure package because they all got things. They all got billions of dollars in handouts for Wall Street and these companies across all of these states. That's why they didn't give a crap about the process. But now when it's a stimulus that could affect the climate and could help you with education and pre-kindergarten and those types of things.
Well,
I'm concerned about the process.
He is saying, I liked the things in it and I will debate them separately, which makes more sense. Okay.
What makes more sense to break them out separately?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because maybe then you can actually budget for them appropriately, right? Will actual child tax credits improve productivity in the workforce and allow for any types of taxation that might pay for it, right? You could talk about it one by one, but lumping it together like this, it always makes it so much. You can't negotiate on anything when it's in one big like silly putty.
I don't know. I mean, I just find it odd that he's specifically singling out this bill. He has a problem with the process, but just a few weeks earlier, he didn't give a crap that it went straight to the floor,
right?
And didn't have any kind of process
and
involved.
his rationale on delaying the bill was that he wanted it to go through the process of the budget office, which it did, right? He said, this was the last thing I wanted. I will be right there with you. And then after it happened, he was like, no, I still don't like it. He could have said, I just wanted to see that number from the CBO and I didn't like that number. It will put us deeper in debt and I can't handle that. That's a real reason. Whether you like it or not, the rest of his party doesn't care. The Democrats don't care about spending money they don't have at all.
The Poor People's Campaign last week sent a message to the senators saying it's time to publicly answer which side are you on. They specifically sent a letter to Manchin and Murkowski and the whole lot of them saying it's time to go back, overcome the regressive filibuster, and pass the full $3 trillion Build Back Better agenda, not reduce it down to 1.7, blah, blah, blah. They said in a message specifically to Manchin, they said, we are suffering because the Senate could find trillions in less than 2 years for corporations, but can't protect voting rights and invest a few trillion over 10 years in the people. Of course not. Are you surprised by that? So again, there is no stimulus. There is no stimulus right now, and the very latest, in fact, on the government spending is there are only 11 days until government funding runs out. So that expires. The House and Senate appropriations from both parties negotiated through the weekend still don't have a plan. They still don't have a top line number on how much they're going to spend for 2022 spending bills. The two sides did not come to an agreement, and according to a half dozen different sources this morning, no deal in hand. The House is expected to vote on a short-term funding bill next week. Once again, they'll do these short-term spending bills where they'll just kick the can down the street. Leaders are discussing March 11th as a possible expiration deadline for the short-term spending bill. So I think this may be the thing.
But there's less hostage right now because when the vote was extended to February, or when the debt ceiling was extended in December, they were holding Build Back Better hostage. Now that Build Back Better is essentially dissipated in water, right, there's less to hold hostage. And so now we could at least pass these short-term spending bills, but there's no permanent solution. It's like, let's just do this every month.
Well, right. And that's what's going to happen.
Is the Build Back Better bill something that's available online for us to read? Because I just don't trust that it's any good anyway. Like, what's
there
in
is
it?
a summary on whitehouse.gov that says what it is made of. But again,
they still haven't ironed it out.
It
so
was
it never
debated.
came.
A lot of things that it says on whitehouse.gov have been removed from it already in negotiations. So what it actually would be, Joe Manchin's right in that it never was actually written into what they would vote on. It was only the hypothetical that was in the template, really.
Yeah. So they never went through committees.
Everything that was for us, like the negotiating drug prices, the expanded Medicare, like all that stuff was all removed before they would even discuss it.
Yes. Yeah.
That's why I'm wondering. That's why I'm wondering: is this just another big wet kiss to Wall Street and private companies and stuff? Like that's just what feels like. That's what this is.
It did not have. I could not find pork in it, like something that didn't belong there. In reading the presidential summary, anyway.
Because you're not going to see that there,
right?
But again, we don't. It never came to fruition. It never came. There was never a final bill. There was never anything that was like coming out of these committees that we could actually vote on. So, it's dead. It's dead. So anyone who's sitting around thinking that we're going to get a stimulus package anytime soon, I don't see it. I mean, I know that there can be YouTubers who devote themselves to saying that there's a stimulus. There's not. There is no stimulus check. There's nothing. There's nothing. Joe Manchin says it's dead. It's dead.
I mean, there's a lot of things that could be considered stimulus that are just not being pushed through at this
I'm saying,
very
as
moment.
soon as there are, I'll report on it.
Tax credits, all kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, the child tax credit is dead. That expired. I mean, in fact, instead of it being better than what we had under Trump or Obama, it's now worse. They're gone. I mean,
yes.
it's dead and gone.
Yeah.
So, if Democrats want to try to get a win here, and maybe they can try to get some of these things through, like child tax credits, community college, pre-kindergarten, all of those things, environmental legislation.
They could do that in one-off bills.
Right.
They just don't like to.
And they need Republican support, and they just don't have it. They're not going to get anything through the Senate. The Senate is deadlocked and 50-50, and Joe Manchin has no appetite for environmental legislation. So I don't see anything happening, quite honestly.
This is why we need to stop voting for Democrats and Republicans and start voting third party. Get them out of there. Don't vote for either party.
I would love that, but we also need ranked choice voting so that those votes don't feel like for people who think like they're throwing away their votes. Like in the state of Maine, you can vote ranked choice voting and actually have your vote count for a third party candidate. If you like this content, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Also, we have a membership program. For the price of a cup of coffee once a month, you can support independent journalism just by going to morninginvest.com/join.
You get access to exclusive videos, plus the ability to join and chat with us live. We really appreciate your subscription, and you are supporting independent journalism.